difference between hardwoods and softwoods are not always if they're actually harder or softer. So this is a box of hardwoods, you can pass it around if you want. But it has to do with the openness of the pores. So when I step on a soft wood or if I push into a soft wood, it dents because the veins in the wood are more open or larger, so they have a larger pore. Have you guys ever done the sunflower trick, or maybe daisies? I don't know. You know when you go to the flower store and they have blue flowers, and you know they're not really blue, they've been dyed blue, or when you see an orange sunflower. Have you guys ever done that? So when I was in elementary school, basically it's just a big jar of whatever color food coloring you want, and you stick the flowers in the water, and eventually the color comes all the way up and changes the colors of the petals. And that's because the flower is still living, and though it's basically like our veins and arteries, it's pulling the water up, and that's how it's keeping the flower hydrated. So those openings are basically like the veins of the tree. So if they're big, it makes the wood soft because you can push down and it squeezes them in. If they're tiny, it makes the wood harder. So then we have the figures of the wood. So this is a quarter cut. So we all kind of are familiar with when you cut a tree and it has the rings in it. Well, depending on how you slice it, whether it's cut the long way or cut in half, it'll get a different figure. So the figure is the pattern that the wood grain makes just in its natural state. So that's a quarter cut. I want to say this is a burl. This is an oak burl wood, and it kind of just has these curly cues. So it's sort of a curly figure. Yeah, these are all sort of closed pores. They have this same center around. So this is a flat cut. So the other one that went around, you notice it was just sort of lines that went all the way through the quarter cut. This is a flat cut, meaning it's just literally cutting against the grain. So I'm seeing these arches that go up and down. And this one's, we'll get to this later, but it's book matched. So meaning that I had two pieces of veneer and I opened them like this so that the edges match. So that's flat cut, that's where you get that sort of hump. And then this is quarter sliced. So again, you're getting these sort of longer grains. So you're going more around the wood. And then we have cork. I really like cork. So cork has a lot of different properties. It's I wouldn't say fireproof, but it's a fire inhibitor. It doesn't catch on fire very easily. It reduces sound because it's so porous. It's pretty soft to walk on. And it's considered a green material because you're not having to kill any trees to harvest it. You're really just skimming the bark. So you can get it in rolled goods. You can get it where it's actually sort of refined, it's milled and then put back together. So it looks a little smoother if you don't want that actual cork finish. And then we have bamboo. I have lots of samples of bamboo. So bamboo, it used to be sort of this new inventive material, but now I think it's pretty standard. Everybody's kind of seen it. So you can kind of see where the leaves of the bamboo come out. And typically it's sort of like a plywood, except it would be called maybe a plyboo because they're not using any other wood besides bamboo. So you can kind of see it, the bamboo stalks going this way. But then if you look at that middle layer, they're going the other direction. And then on the back, they're going back in the direction that's on the front. So it makes it really durable and strong. It's considered green as well because bamboo is a grass. So it grows really, really quickly and it can be harvested and regrown. And they use bamboo for everything now. Like this is a bamboo butcher block. You can paint bamboo. So you can basically do anything to bamboo that you would do to wood. this is all out of order, so forgive me. So veneers are very thin slices of wood. So a lot of times, most of the time, you can't afford to buy a solid piece of wood furniture. So what they do is once they've cut the log into big chunks, then they kind of shave it off like you shave a carrot, and it comes out in these really thin streaks. And then those thin streaks are put onto a lesser quality wood. So for instance, this is the veneer. So it looks really beautiful, right? But if you look at the edge, it's just put on top of a particle board. So it makes it a lot less expensive, but you're getting like the beautiful finish of the wood. So this is my favorite wood. This is zebra wood. Super expensive. Oh, this is Madagascar ebony. Let's see, I thought I had a zebra wood. So again, any wood species there is, you can get it in a veneer. And then we started sort of talking about how wood was matched. So I guess I skipped ahead before. So when we looked at the other one, I said that it was book matched because you could see the two humps. And this one, this is a quartered. So the cut is quarter, but you can see the seam that happens right here. And so once you've like cut the wood and done all of the slices of veneer, that stack of veneer is called a flitch. So when you buy veneer, you buy it by the flitch. And so they took two of those pieces of veneer and just basically opened them up like a book. Again, so you get sort of the same pattern happening on both sides. With this one, the veneer is actually going around in a diamond. So this is a diamond match. And I feel like that's actually solid wood. And then we have particle board. So what's the weakest part of any material? The seam. Particle board is all seam. So if you've ever like had a piece of particle board or furniture made of particle board and it gets wet, it all swells up because the water gets in between all of those little cracks, and the wood is absorbing because it's just like that flour that you stuck in the water. It has those pores in it that's going to absorb. So basically they take all of the scrap wood that's left over and they chop it down, and then they mix it with glue, and then they press it together, and it's a really inexpensive material. So this is like, I can look at this and see the edge of this is particle board, as opposed to the edge of this one is the solid wood, because I see the grain that goes all the way through. So MDF is also a man-made wood, and it's sort of the same as plywood, except now I'm grounding the wood down into a fine powder, and I'm adding the glue and I'm pressing it really, really, really tight. So now it won't swell up as much, but it ultimately will. So MDF is typically what your IKEA furniture and things are made out of. So I have a butcher block countertop, and I think as I was demoing, I was like, I'm a little lazy, and if I can find an easy way to do something, I'm going to do it. So I have the sink that has the double sink, so it has the thing in the middle, and so I put my water kettle there, and I just let the water flow in, and I walk away and I go do other things. So many, many, many times I have let it overflow onto my wood counter. So one day it overflowed, and I went away, did what I had to do, and then I looked at my air fryer and it was like this. I'm like, why is my air fryer tipping like that? And the whole counter had swelled, like, I don't know, a lot, more than 6 inches. I'm like, okay, well, we're just gonna put it back and we're gonna ignore it. Few days it went back down, so it's flat again, but that just shows you that wood is porous. The water goes in and then dries out, the water goes back. So wood is always living. Plywood. So these are actually really nice plywoods. If you go to Home Depot, the plywood won't be as finished. But I have these examples because you can actually see the plies happening on the edges. So again, the one grain of the ply goes this way, the next ply goes this way, and vice versa, so it makes it really sturdy. If all the plies went in the same direction, it would sort of be easy to break it, because again, the grains of the wood are kind of like the seams, and they're the weakest part. But if you ply it and have the grains go opposite directions, it makes it really durable. So then we have doors, and so we have hollow core doors. So these are typically your interior door. So it has a frame around it, and then just a little piece of either veneer or fake wood or whatever it is. So when you see people punching holes through doors, it's not really that big of a deal. It's a hollow core door. So there's no security in a hollow core door. So they tend to happen on the interior. They don't keep out heat. They're really just for privacy and division, as opposed to a solid core door, which is what will happen on the exterior. So now I can't break through this door, and it also will hold in heat and cool air. So this is my solid wood versus, again, my veneer. Sorry, did we talk about wood flooring in this lecture? No? Wood flooring?
I think so.
So, like, you can imagine a lot of wood flooring, it's not necessarily a veneer like this, but it's a little thicker. So when you're buying a solid wood floor, you're getting a really good quality floor. And if you want to change the finish, you can sand, and it's always going to remain the same grain and the same beauty because the full thickness of the wood is solid. As opposed to like an engineered flooring, the thickness of the wood is maybe 1/8 of an inch. So you sand it once maybe, and then you're done. Here's the engineered wood. So here's the thickness of the engineered wood, right? So there's a big difference that I can maybe sand this down twice to get a new finish, but then it's over. So when my daughter she went from her baby room to her little girl room, I decided to paint her floors white, but there was a piece of wood that was kind of jacked up. So I had the guy come and cut the wood out. And my house, again, 100 and something years old now, so it gets kind of cold, very cold, especially in her room. So we cut the wood out, and I realized there's dirt underneath. It's like so the floor that I'm living on is actually the subfloor. So the difference between, you guys know what subfloor is? Mm-hmm. So basically you build the house, you put the subfloor in, and then you put whatever finish you want on top of the subfloor, whether it's carpet, wood, tile, whatever. So when I moved in, I pulled up all my grandma's old carpet, and I was like, oh, the floor is pretty. So I sanded it and kept moving. It's technically the subfloor. But houses were made with such good quality wood, it's all redwood back then, that's beautiful. But it's subfloor. So there's just air underneath my kids, well, the whole house actually. But it's still pretty. But now I know why my house is very, very cold. And it's very energy inefficient. My bills are high. So this is what's called impregnated wood. So remember we talked about those pores? So what they do for impregnated wood is they actually take the dye and they push it through those pores. So even though they dyed this purple, if I sanded this, at least through this section, it would stay that color. So and it also is the most durable of all woods because when it gets stepped on, because those pores are now filled with resin, they won't dent in. So this is what basketball courts and sports facilities and even a lot of retail use impregnated wood because it's very, very, very durable. And then we have parquet flooring. So when you see this, it looks like it's a lot of work to put in, but really you buy it in these 12 by 12 pieces, and it's put together with a mesh on the back. And this is another parquet, kind of fell up. Oh, I guess it's two different samples, but it goes like that ultimately. I think that one's bamboo. And then we have strip wood flooring, which is typically what we see when we have wood. So this is just cool. I just like it. So this is green, and I want to say, if memory serves me, I really think it's coconut shells. Oh yeah, coconut shells. So again, as designers, how do you reinvent what already exists? Like we already know what wood looks like, typical wood. Somebody said, hey, let's use bamboo. And now, so bamboo is not new or special anymore. But maybe if you use coconut shells, that would be kind of cool, right? So as designers, how are you reinventing what already exists? Yeah, so this is a little bit out of order, my apologies. So this should have came, so first we have particle board, and then we have the MDF, the medium density fiber board, which is this one, right? And so when you, again, go to IKEA and you have like this white shelf, or you just buy white shelves, that's basically the MDF that has this white layer on it that's really thin. So when you buy this just like this, it is called melamine. Okay, so typically in a kitchen, the doors and the face of the cabinet will be really great, but then you open it up and it's white. Again, so you're spending all the money on the face, and what's happening on the inside is inexpensive. Questions for me? How's the midpoint exam coming? Anybody start? Because it's due next week. And you can do it in groups. Again, it's an open book.